Yes, people. You know what time it is. You know what it is. It's G, and we are back. We are back with another match reaction. Bournemouth versus Liverpool. Liverpool back in the Premier League. Little hiatus from Premier League action. Couple teams, most teams actually went on their little winter break, and obviously are now back into the swing of things. Liverpool going down south, coming up against a Bournemouth side who are in really, really good form as of recently, but Liverpool walking away 4-0 victors to make sure that they stay 5 points at the top of the table. Now, match reaction coming up. Just going to get into a few bits and bobs, my match ratings, and then we take a look to the next game. Guys, please make sure we are ever so close to that 1,000 subscriber. So make sure, if you haven't done so already, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button for me. Make sure you smash a like, make sure you share, and let's get into it, man.
Through the lot, now you know I'm coming through. When the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keep dealing me cards, I keep fitting in love.
Yes, people, you know what time it is. As I said, we are back in the building for my match reaction. Hopefully, this will not take too long. Obviously, as I said, Liverpool 4-0 victors against Bournemouth this evening. Good performance. Well, good second half performance from the Reds. Give you my little overview of the game before we get, of course, into the player ratings for the match. Yeah, I think you could kind of tell in that first half that Liverpool had been, away on a little winter break. Bournemouth looked like they were kind of a bit more at it. Especially in that first 10, 15 minutes of the game, they looked like they were a bit more on it. They were a bit more, just with it, in the game. Again, I know people are going to look at the stats and say, oh, but they didn't create any chances. It's not about that. It's just more about how they were playing and how it looked, in that first half. And I think even when you look at the first half, and again, I'm not going to throw the statistics at you, you guys can, do that for yourselves. And to be honest, we all watched the game. Liverpool did look lackluster. Of course, no Trent, no Robbo, no Salah, Peck, no Thiago, no Matip, no Simicas. Good few players that knows the Bozalai, Salah, of course, with all the stuff that's kind of going on with Salah as of recently. Which I'll speak about, towards the end of this. But yeah, Liverpool were, missing quite a lot of players. And I think Bournemouth were missing a couple of players, of course. No, I don't want to be too disingenuous and act like Bournemouth had their strongest team out. But ultimately, Liverpool were missing a lot of players. And I think, that kind of told, that they kind of tell. What I will say, looking at the result, before I kind of get into, the nitty gritty, what I will say is, as dry as I think Liverpool, play, and especially in that first half, it was, just a team that just didn't really have many ideas, and things like that. Quite basic football, if you think about it, long balls, really just trying to kick it long. Hope for the best, second balls, and all that kind of stuff. Kind of the stuff that you would more associate with Sean Dyche, Burnley. That kind of football. That's what it reminded me of, anyway. For all of the dryness, Liverpool always still find a way to win games, regardless. And I have to give them credit, and I have to give the boys, plus I have to give Jurgen Klopp credit for being able to find a way, in that second half. But yeah, the first half, I would say Liverpool's best player was McAllister in that first half. And then second half, I'll probably say Kanate probably just outshone him in that kind of respect. But yeah, first half wasn't really good from Liverpool. Bournemouth were... We were limiting Bournemouth, of course, to chances and things like that. They weren't getting chances, but like normal, like a normal Liverpool performance, it was they were getting in, every now and again, little bits, in terms of in the attacking third and things like that. They were finding not, I wouldn't say joy, but they were finding space at times, in our back line, you know, especially when you've got the Van Dijks and the Kanates, you know, they're the only two back really. And then you've got Conor Bradley, you know, trying to bomb up down that right-hand side. And you've got Joe Gomez, you know, kind of doing the same on that left-hand side. It did leave a bit of space. There was a couple of times when, you know, Conor Bradley would get a little bit isolated against Sinisterra, who's a very, very good player and a very, very tricky winger. Someone you don't really want to leave someone like Conor Bradley against. Conor Bradley did all right, though. You know, he did all right. And again, we'll get into the match ratings in a sec. But yeah, I just think that, yeah, first off, like I said, it was just more of a dull performance. We were dominating. Again, haven't checked the stats, don't really want to. I'm assuming Liverpool dominated the possession, the passing, the you know, shots, touches in the opponents, but all that stuff, I'm pretty sure, without looking at the stats, that Liverpool dominated, you know, all of that. But watching the game, yeah, it did feel a little bit uneasy, if I'm being honest. It really did feel a little bit uneasy. And again, it just looked like Liverpool didn't know where they were going to get that creative spark from. You know, as I said, no Trent, no Salah, no Szoboszlai. So that whole right side, non-existent. So, and it showed in the game. You know, there was, you know, Conor Bradley, as good as I thought he was, you know, overall in the game. He's not Trent, hasn't got the passing ability. He's a trier. You know, he's a young player, of course, trying to make his way into the first team squad, trying to impress, trying to make sure he's, you know, just doing the right things and, you know, all those kind of little bits and bobs. You know, he's not really inverting too tough in the game. You know, he's, of course, trying to go up and down that right-hand side, but then he's, of course, then got to worry about, again, Sinisterra at times, Cliver, if he potentially comes over on that side. Gomez again on that other side, he was okay, you know, in terms of like going forward. I don't think he was really troubled, you know, so to speak. Back to, of course, Van Dijk, Konate, they were just rocks. They were rocks. A few ooh kind of moments, but you know, nothing too crazy. And then in midfield, we were, you know, in that first half, we were really failing to, and big up Jerry, because this is something that he mentioned, and he's probably going to mention it in his tactics board and stuff like that. But we were failing to get that control in that midfield in that first half. You know, there was no one really controlling it, if I'm being honest. As good as McAllister was, he wasn't there to control the midfield. He was doing his part. And I have to give testament to him, because he really did impress me in this game. In my opinion, that's the best game I've ever seen from McAllister in a Liverpool shirt. Yeah, but in terms of, you know, Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott, absolutely non-existent, if I'm being totally honest with you. Just didn't really see anything from them, you know, both from a defensive standpoint and from an attacking standpoint. They were really, in my opinion, losing that battle. So yeah, it wasn't really a good performance. The attack, we didn't even need an attack, to be honest with you. A few counter-attacking, you know, moments in that first half, but you wouldn't have known the difference whether we had an attack or didn't, if I'm being totally honest. But again, that was in the first half. Can't remember. Well, I do remember, but I don't want to, you know, be putting people's Twitter stuff out there. But there was a tweet. She knows who she is. She put out a tweet talking about, you know, whatever Klopp says, you know, at half, or Klopp needs to release whatever he says at halftime. Big up yourself, because you know who you are if you're watching this. I agree, because whatever Klopp tells this team more time, and I think you guys, if you watch my previous show, the unsustainable or mentality monsters, go and watch that, because we talk about Liverpool going 1-0 down in games, slow starts in games, how many times Liverpool have gone 1-0 down in games. I think it's about 15 times. That's a lot, you know. In that's half the games that Liverpool played this season. We usually go 1-0 down, which isn't it doesn't matter in the end, because as we found out, we win more games than we lose or draw. But ultimately, that is a bit of a trend. And again, it was the same thing this evening against Bournemouth, where Liverpool just slow starters. But whatever Klopp says at half time, he needs to release them tapes. Like, it'll be, if Liverpool go on to win the league, I would love to, you know, we don't do those, the all or nothing. If we did, oh my God, I would love to hear what he says, because he needs to change that to the first half. We need to, whatever he tells them in that second half, he needs to tell them in the first half, because these first halves are becoming really, really annoying, so to speak. But in that second half, Liverpool just came out and it's just pure dominance, you know, absolutely pure dominance. And there was three players, I felt, in the overall game anyway. Of course, the goals coming from Diogo Jota, 2, and Darwin Núñez, 2. Confidence boost for Darwin Núñez as well. I think he's the first Premier League player to get 10 goals and 10 assists. So, yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's 20 goals and assists that he's got, you know, this season, which is good numbers for Darwin Núñez, you know. an improvement from last season. So, big up to him in that kind of regards. And then, of course, Diogo Jota getting the other two. But that second half, it was a lot more dominance. We were actually gaining more control in that midfield area. It wasn't just when it comes to the defense side, when, you see Liverpool got high possession, it's because we just knock it around at the back. I'm pretty sure most of it's coming from that anyway. We weren't really finding passages of play. And that was the bit that was annoying me the most, was that it's all well and good knocking the ball about, and I don't mind that, to be honest with you. I like teams do that. The top teams will inevitably do that, especially against the lesser teams, because they just kind of potentially want to sit back. But Bournemouth are a good footballing team, and they have shown that this season. But when you're coming up against these kind of teams, you are going to have the lion's share of possession. But it is really about what you can do with it. How do you penetrate other teams? And we wasn't seeing anything like that in that first half. Curtis Jones wasn't really able to link up with the attackers. Harvey Elliott was just kind of running around. Say, McAllister was really the only one. Konate at times trying to get the ball forward and things like that. But when I think about it, in that second half, that first goal from Darwin Núñez, a really, really good finish, by the way. When he scored that goal, you can see the ball into typical long ball up top. That's Liverpool's game. Ball up top. Curtis Jones gets it, pops off to, I think it was Diogo Jota. Diogo Jota then into Darwin Núñez. Boom, there we get the goal. Patterns of play. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Open up a team, fast movement, fast passing. Instead of this slow crap that we always seem to always want to do, it was that fast movement, that fast passing that we were able to do. And then that kind of just set the tone really for, the second half. And then in the end, Liverpool just ended up running away with it. As I mentioned, that fantastic goal from Darwin Núñez, and then Diogo Jota. This guy is just, he's something else. He's definitely something else, but he's showing what he can do. He's showing what he can do. Let me get the match ratings up. Don't want to keep you guys too long for this evening. Cool. So obviously this was the lineup, of course, that we went with for the game. Typical, probably the lineup that everyone probably thought and expected. Joe Gomez, Bradley as the left and right back, Van Dijk, Konate in there, McAllister, Jones, Harvey Elliott, and then Darwin Núñez on the left. Ish kind of rotating between him and Diogo Jota at times, although Jota was kind of floating, within the game, and then obviously Luis Diaz on that right hand side. So let's pop straight to Alisson. Didn't really have too much to do, if I'm being 100% honest with you. Again, that's not his fault. He got himself a clean sheet, so I'll give him a 7. Joe Gomez, as I mentioned, I thought he was all right. Fantastic ball for, I think it was for for Darwin Núñez. I think it was it for the Darwin Núñez goal? My memory's drawing a blank here. I think it was for that, but that was a was a really, really good ball from Joe Gomez. And yeah, he seems to be getting real comfortable. It's going to be interesting to see what Klopp will do when Robertson and or Tsimikas, of course, come back, in terms of, does he just keep Joe Gomez there? Because he's been a steady Eddie in that position. Hasn't really, I mean, we could say the same for Tsimikas, to be fair, in that same position, but Joe Gomez has been very, very calm in that position. Maybe, in terms of just providing that real width and better balls into the box and stuff like that, you would probably want Andrew Robertson. But, it's a conversation. It's definitely a conversation. But in regards to this evening's game, I will give Gomez, I give him a 7. I thought it was steady Eddie. Virgil van Dijk, part of that back three that is just I say back three, sorry, part of that triplet, of players, as you guys can obviously see, Van Dijk, Konate, and Alisson, these guys are just solid, as a unit, and they've proven, time and time again, this season. Virgil van Dijk captain in the sides. Again, I thought it was a real steady performance from him. Nothing too crazy, nothing too amazing. Just a really, really good, just casual performance, if I'm being honest, from Virgil van Dijk. Taking a look at Konate. Konate's performance was really, really good. He's showing in recent times, if he can continue this kind of form, I think, when people talk about world class and stuff like that, just in terms of players in general, everyone's got their own measure, their own threshold in regards to, world-class players and things like that. And hey, I'm not telling anybody whatever. I think with Konate, it's I almost feel like I have to put him in there because I feel like he is actually a world-class player. The problem that he has is that your injury record sometimes, well, has been anyway, especially well, even this season as well, has been a little bit like, ooh, kind of thing where you're like, ah, if you keep getting these injuries, it's hard, it's difficult to keep you in there, because availability is obviously important, but in terms of his actual just pure ability, fantastic. And this season, he really has shown in the games that he has played that he is really, really a fantastic defender. Up against Bournemouth, 85% passing accuracy, 5 out of 12 accurate long passes, 1 chance created, 2 out of 2 dribbles completed, 4 out of 5 ground duels, 8 out of 10 aerial duels, 1 out of 2 tackles, 1 and 5 recoveries in the game. One thing I'll say about Konate, which I'll big him up about because I never, something that I wanted to see an improvement in is that he's improving his on-ball ability. That's something that I really thought that wouldn't get any better. I mean, it's not perfect or anything like that. It could easily be a lot better than it is, of course, but he's definitely improved in that kind of regards. Yeah, man, I think tonight, fantastic game from him. Really, really fantastic game. I felt like he just kind of bossed it. I'll give him 8.5 actually. I'll give him an 8.5. Taking a look at Bradley, obviously picked himself a yellow card. It was a tough night in terms of Casillas. Like some wingers, they're not going to be world renowned. I'm not saying that someone like Casillas is like a world renowned player, so to speak. But some wingers can just cause you kind of trouble, and I don't think he caused Bradley too much trouble. Yes, there was a couple of times that Bradley was left a little bit isolated, and he might beat him on the outside, or maybe potentially come in, and they might even double up on that kind of side. But as an overall, if I'm being 100% honest, I felt like he did all right. I genuinely felt like he did all right. I don't really feel like he did anything bad, so to speak. I felt like his performance would have matched like Gomez's performance. Obviously Gomez got himself an assist, but yeah, I think they're both kind of equal in their performances. So I'll leave those two up there. McAllister, the Mac 10. Oh man, this guy, he divides opinion is definitely what I say about someone like McAllister. He definitely divides opinion. In today's game though, or sorry, this evening's game, fantastic performance by McAllister. I felt like he was the best player, on the park. 87% passing accuracy, 4 chances created, 95 touches, 11 passes into the final third, accurate long balls, tackles. Could have won more tackles, should have won more tackles, to be fair, but he's there to make, he's trying to make these challenges. He's trying to do that. It's not his main game, but at least he's trying. So I will give him that, in that regard. 3 interceptions, 15 recoveries, 12 out of 17 ground duels, 2 out of 2 aerial duels, one. I felt like it was a strong performance. For me, it was the best performance I've ever seen from McAllister in the Liverpool shirt. Definitely better than that Manchester City performance. Definitely better than that. He was really, spraying the passes. There was a fantastic ball that he did where the ball came back to him and then he whipped it out to the left-hand side. I was like, whoosh, okay, yeah, I see you, my bro. I see you. But yeah, I felt like it was a really, really good performance from McAllister, and he was our best midfielder in the entire game, to be honest with you, well above everybody else. So yeah, I have to give him. I'll pick him up for that. Curtis Jones today. It was a bit of a meaty performance, if I'm being totally honest with you. Like I said in that first half, him and Harvey Elliott, I would probably give the same kind of score. Failed to really get a foothold in the game. They weren't helping to control in that midfield area. If I'm being totally honest with you, the game was kind of bypassing them a lot. Not entirely their fault is what I would say to that, though, because Liverpool's tactics was to get that ball up to, the forward line as quickly as possible. So sometimes it would just bypass them in that kind of regards. But in terms of just an overall control of a midfield, yeah, I felt like they were both literally exactly the same, which is meh. Kind of thing. Yeah, it just felt like it was that kind of performance. But ultimately, they helped to get the win. And yeah, we'll move on from them. Darwin Núñez, Mr. Núñez himself, got himself 2 goals in the game. good second half performance. I think everyone had a good second half performance, by the way. I don't think anyone was good in the first half except maybe Konate and Alexis McAllister. Yeah, but yeah, outside of those two, I think everyone else is like, they would have been on like 5.5, 6s kind of thing. But yeah, I think, you know, when it comes to Darwin Núñez, of course, a lot gets said about him. I'm not here to do a piece on Darwin Núñez. I think we've spoken a lot about him. You know, we know Mo Salah, the best attacker that we've got here at the club. He's obviously injured at this current moment in time, but in terms of just, he's not here, you know, so of course we're looking to our other players to be able to step up in his absence. And in today's game, this evening's game, I felt like first half, yes, it was poor, but that second half, he was really trying to, you know, get himself some shots. He got a couple shots in that first half anyway, but he was, as we say, chaos and nuisance, and he added goals to the game. So definitely, I think I'll give him an 8. I'll give him an 8. I think that might be a higher score. I think maybe I've given him higher. Maybe I've given him higher. But yeah, I felt like it was an 8 performance. I felt like he really did perform really, really well in the game. Who we got? Diogo Jota. We got Jota next. Yeah, Diogo Jota. Jota had another one of those Salah performances. This brother was not doing much, in my personal opinion, in that first half. I don't feel like he was doing that much, to be honest with you. I wouldn't have been upset if you said, "Oh, I've got to take him off," kind of thing. If we had the players to be able to do so, then I wouldn't have been so fussed. But then he just comes in and it's like, you know, finishes like this, and you know, the other goal is like, this guy, I don't know, man. I don't know. He's a funny one. He's too clinical for his own good, almost. You know, 6 out of 16 duels, 2 goals, 2 shots on target, 1 assist, 2 big chances created, 73% pass accuracy, 3 out of 4 accurate long passes, and 3 out of 5 tackles. Yeah, it was such a typical Mo Salah performance where your performance ain't really saying all that, but then you get yourself 2 goals, so you're just like, rah. All right, cool, you know, kind of thing. So yeah, I'll give him that. But he's so clinical, man. It's actually dangerous. It's actually dangerous. And then Luis Diaz. I think Luis Diaz, the same as Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott. I thought he was kind of meaty, super meaty in the game. I don't think he really did that much, if I'm being totally honest with you. Yeah, Gakpo coming on for him. Probably, maybe we should have potentially even started with Gakpo in that position, or maybe Gakpo comes into the midfield and maybe put Elliott out there on the right. I would like to see what that would look like with Núñez on the left, Elliott on the right, and Diogo Jota there. Yeah, I know people were getting gassed about Luis Diaz, you know, coming back in and is he back to his best? Yeah, games like this evening then remind us that, yeah, he's not quite there yet, if I'm being 100% honest, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, other than that, the subs, I'm not gonna really rate the subs too much. I'll give them all 6s. I'll just give them all 6s, to be honest with you. 5s or 6s, I'm not really too bothered about that. It's more the first team. So let me just enlarge that for you guys. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. Yeah. So yeah, you guys can obviously see that here. Allison with a 7, Gomez 7, Van Dijk 7.5, Konate 8.5, Bradley 7, McAllister 8.5, Jones 6.5 with Elliott, and Luis Diaz, Núñez an 8, and Diogo Jota an 8. And Liverpool now go 5 points clear. Who was my man of the match? My man of the match would be I'm going to give it to McAllister. I felt he really, really did shine in that first half. And I think, especially because of the way I've been critical of him, I have to big him up when he does really, really well. And I felt like this evening's game, excuse me, he did really, really well in the game. So yeah, McAllister is my man of the match. You guys can obviously see. Make sure you take your screenshots for anybody. That's my match ratings for this evening's game. So yeah, guys, let me know, of course, what you think in the comment section. Let me know if you guys think I was talking shit. How did you feel about Liverpool's, you know, performance? Little comments here from Klopp in terms of that second half. Second half was much better, different circumstances. Opponent in a good moment, a bad start from us. We passed when we should have went long. We went long when we should have passed. The left side was completely static. And you know, as I said, yeah, that first half was just really poor, really poor, you know, in my personal opinion. And again, Liverpool come away with that victory. Second half, of course, we were able to do our thing and blah blah blah, and everybody forgets about it and yada yada yada. But yeah, we need to start a lot better, you know, in these games, if I'm being totally honest with you. But at the moment, it doesn't really even matter. Really doesn't matter. A little funny thing, Diogo Jota has never lost a Premier League game that he scored in. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. In all the games that he's scored in, he's never lost a match for Liverpool. That's kind of mad. But guys, let me know, of course, what you think in the comment section below. Give me your match ratings, your man of the match as well. Liverpool go 5 points clear at the top of the table before Manchester City, of course, play their next game. Let me know your predictions for our next match, and I will see you guys very, very soon.